So I'm going to start actually with a reading by Ernest Holmes. So we are doing Everyday Enlightenment. It's a book by Dan Millman. It's called The 12 Gateways to Personal Growth. And this week we are on the 9th gateway, which is Illuminate Your Shadow, Cultivating Compassion and Authenticity. So in this thing called life, Ernest Holmes says, you don't have to beseech life to be good or to bring good into your life. Life is like the sun. It shines on everything. Get out of the shadows. Crawl out of your basement. Open the windows of your mind. Open the doors of your soul. Lift up your thought and let life be to you whatever you wish it to be. And then Charles Barker, if you don't know who Charles Barker is, Charles Barker and Ernest Holmes were very, very good friends. And at one time, when we were not one organization, we had been one organization, we split into two organizations. Charles Barker was the head of the other organization. And in The Power of Decision, he says, problems are the shadows created by man when he refuses to face the light of intelligence and therefore makes wrong decisions and abides in the halls of worry, confusion, and defeat. The problem could not exist if you did not exist to create it and experience it. Shift your attention from your concern with the problem and give this same amount of thinking and feeling to your awareness of yourself as intelligence in action. So what is the shadow? We are born of pure spirit, right? Each and every one of us, born of pure spirit. We have no shadow. And then we get told things. And it's not intentional necessary, but your shadow comes from you disowning pieces of your personality. And it becomes a shadow piece of you because you don't want to be that person, or you don't want to behave that way for whatever reason. And it's interesting, I was going to use an entirely different story, and I don't know if, I'm sure many of you know that Courtney and me and I took a road trip over to Boise, Idaho to meet Christy Nickel, who is the head of Code Red. She started it, and it's the eating program that we've been on, and we dropped, I think, 70 pounds, 40 pounds, and 58 pounds. That 70 might have actually been higher, maybe, but right around there. So that's a lot of weight between the three of us. So we're sitting after the event down in the restaurant, and we start talking about our mothers. And my mother was a person who could tell you the calories in anything you were putting in your mouth. So Gail, you don't want to eat a lot of grapes. Did you know there's a calorie in every single grape you eat? And then, in my freshman year of high school, my best friend passed away. And my mother thought, because I was so upset, which I was, that I was stuffing my emotions with eating, which I probably was. However, her response to that, the only way she knew to handle that was she needs to be put on a diet program. It has nothing to do with the grief of losing her best friend. She needs to find a way not to be heavy. So that was my introduction into, if you're heavy, you're not lovable. That's a shadow. And shadows can come in all different kinds of shapes and forms. I want you to think about pieces of your personality that you have been told are too loud, too this, too that. It doesn't matter what the too is. When you're young, or maybe even now, what happens is you decide, oh, to be lovable, to be liked, I need to shut that piece of me down. Because if people knew that I was that way, they wouldn't like me. It is one of the reasons when you go into an eating program, and now I use with people that I coach, Christy had us right, what is your why? Because if you're doing this for somebody else, she doesn't want you to do it. That's not a why. Don't lose the weight because your mother used to badgered you because you were heavy. That's not your why. What's your why? Because when your why is big enough, then you'll change things in your life so you'll succeed at it. And then what happens when you succeed at something like major weight loss, everything else starts to fall into place in your life too. Because why? You've built confidence. You're like, oh, I can do this. I can be this person. And so what is your why? And so look at those places where you are stifling yourself because you have been told girls, boys, whatever, they don't behave that way. Act like a lady. I don't know if that's even a term anymore, but growing up, I heard that a lot. Need to learn to act like a lady. Okay, what does that mean exactly? And so that's your shadow, right? And so always remember that that shadow, as I think last week I may have said this, I may have read an Ernest Holmes quote, if you created it, guess what? You can change it and you can uncreate it in your life, if you choose. Sometimes your shadow is a good thing because it comes up when it's necessary for you to behave a certain way. And yet most of us, our shadows, we're not really that proud of. And so to really look at illuminating it means look at those pieces of you. Why don't I do this? Why don't I sing out loud at the top of my lungs? Because I remember standing on a stage like this when I was probably 6 and we were performing and I was singing my little heart out and I was so, so happy. And the first thing my mother said when she approached me was, "You're the only person we could hear in the whole theater." Guess who never sang again? Because it didn't sound like a compliment to me. It wasn't, gee, you have a great voice. You're the only person we could hear in the whole theater. No, it was just, you're the only person we can hear in the whole theater. And so I'm very conscientious when I sing. The fact that Kyle used to turn my mic on at Genesis was frightening to me. And when my husband said, yeah, Kyle thinks I should turn your mic on in the theater, I'm married to him, I'm like, oh, no, do not do that. You know, and so we all have those places that we're not standing out because somebody said something probably senseless. They probably didn't even mean to say what they were saying. Have you never had a conversation with somebody and thought, oh, I should have said that differently, right? I should have been a little bit more compassionate. I should have maybe tempered what I said. And so just to realize that your shadow, any parts of it that you're not fond of, you can illuminate and shift. And that's what we're going to talk about. How do I do that? How do I illuminate my shadow? I don't think you have to illuminate your shadow. I think we all know what our shadow pieces are, right? Does anybody have a shadow piece? They're like, oh yeah, I didn't know I didn't behave like that. No, it comes up. If you're in a 12-step program, it comes up when you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. It's HALT. I love that because it's easy for me to remember. But your shadow will come up when those things happen. Because it's just waiting there. It's like, oh, okay, she could behave like that sweet little person. And then, you know, let something go a little off kilter. It'll show up. It showed up last night. I forgot to say, because, you know, I am so used to talking to people that are just in the area instead of realizing that we have somebody that watches from Sweden. I have friends that are watching from New Mexico and New York. So let me tell you, first of all, for you people that live in hot places, God bless your soul. However, we don't know what this is like here. And so today when I turned on my phone, I was in shock that it was going to be 103 degrees in Kent today. Turned on my phone and now they've upped it to 108. Tomorrow, 113 and now they've upped it to 116. Not all over Seattle, Kent. I happen to live in Kent. I was like, seriously. And so I was a little cranky last night. Because, you know, I'm sitting up at my computer doing the final touches on everything to get ready. You know, water is dripping down my back and down my face. I was cranky. That's part of my shadow, right? It's like things aren't going my way, I'm gonna pout. And so, how do I want to behave maybe a little bit differently? And so just recognizing those things. So the first thing to recognize, or the first thing to do to really illuminate your shadow, or to maybe keep it at bay, have a strong spiritual practice. I can't say this enough. Have a strong spiritual practice. You come here on Sundays, you watch on Facebook or on YouTube. Why wouldn't you have a spiritual practice? We talk about it every single Sunday. And it is different things to different people. Meditate. It doesn't have to be sitting cross-legged in the middle of the room going, oh. You can meditate when you wash dishes. Meditation means being present. So it's not washing dishes and thinking about, oh my God, I wonder what program I'm missing. Meditation is about being with the water, being with the dirty dishes, getting them clean. You have a dishwasher, putting them in the dishwasher. Meditation is mindfulness. You can have a walking meditation. You can have a dancing meditation. You can have an exercise meditation. Journal. Not my favorite spiritual practice. Because to me, I'm judging how I journal. Right? Oh, I'm just writing a diary. That's not really journaling. Well, it is because I'm writing. Right? Yes, it should probably be a mind dump of things that are bothering me. I guess right now I don't have a lot of things bothering me. You know, I just let the pen move across the paper, and pretty soon I'm like talking about how great my life is. I guess that's what's in my head. I think that's a good thing. And if it's recapping what happened yesterday and how much fun I had, why not? And so journaling is important. Listening. I love this. Everybody's heard it. God gave you 2 ears, 1 mouth. Guess what you should do the most? If we were supposed to talk all the time, we'd have 2 mouths and 1 ear. We're supposed to listen. We're supposed to listen. So meditating, what am I forgetting, Cynthia? Meditation, journaling, listening. Okay, this is a little embarrassing. Prayer. Now some of you may think, I don't know how to pray. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Look up and say, I'm at one with all that is. Today I surrender anything that is unlike you, or like it, or like whatever you want to call it. Show me the way. Affirmations. Do affirmations. Because affirmations are good. When your shadow shows up, you can say an affirmation. There's a mirror exercise that I'm doing now that is fabulous. And so this is because I try to come up with a weekly challenge. This would be my weekly challenge this week. Before you go to bed, every single night, I want you to stand in front of a mirror. And I want you to say, I love you and your name. That's from Louise Hay, right? I love you and your name. And then I want you to look yourself in the eye and tell yourself everything you accomplished that day. None of the downside, all the good. Could be, wow, I didn't eat any sugar today. Everything, every commitment I said I was going to do today, I did. I did all of my spiritual practices. Everything you're proud of. And then at the end, again, tell yourself, I love you, and say your name. This is not a conversation you're having in your head. This is an out loud conversation. And if you've lived with somebody and you're like, oh, I can't do that. I don't want my husband to hear me. Shut the bathroom door, or your office door, or your bedroom door. And if they hear you, so what? They already probably think all those good things about you already anyway. So do your spiritual practices. It gives you that foundation. It's your ground. Harmony. Do you know how many people, especially recently, have been asking for balance? Just pray that I have balance. And it's not necessarily work-life, maybe it is, but it's about balance. Nobody is sliding into home base at the end of their life thinking, oh my God, I wonder if I sent that last email. Are they? Everybody, when they leave this planet, wants to know that they were loved and they were loving. And so really think about creating harmony in your life. What does that look like for you? I know we get caught up in obligations from our jobs. I get that. But find some time to do some self-care. And that could look like road trips with girlfriends. It could look like going and getting a massage. It could look like river rafting. It could look like all kinds of different things. But take care of yourself. Give yourself time to play and to laugh. I think Jim Munson, I'm not going to remember both, so if somebody saw this post, shout it out to me. It was, look, you know, when you look out at the world, look out through the eyes of a child. Look at the world with awe. I can't remember the second half, but it's like, be present. You are at choice. Only you can create harmony in your life. If you keep telling yourself how busy you are, the universe is always saying yes, what's going to happen? You're going to have more things to be busy with. Time is something we need to create for ourselves. We're the only ones that can do it. Because here's the thing, your friends and your family are the people that are going to be there and walk there with you till the end of your life. The people that you are giving so much time to, the people you work with or work for, they may or may not be close friends. They probably are not going to necessarily be there. And so I invite you to remember that and really spend quality time with people. Maybe that's all you do. And maybe you don't only have the time to do it on the phone. Do it. I get it. Texting is a great thing, right? It is a great thing. The problem with texting is we're not really conversing with each other. We're passing information. And if you really want to feel how somebody is doing, pick up the phone. Remember when we used to do that? And have a conversation with them. How you doing? What's going on in your life? Yes, it's a little bit harder. Takes a little bit more time. You'll feel better for it afterwards. So create harmony in your life. Remember when I said awe? Every morning, wake up and realize, wow, life is awesome. I used to have somebody that I would say to, maybe it was my dad, so how you doing? It's better than, he would say it's better than the other. You know, because he was 86 years old, he had diabetes. Every day to him was a gift. And with all of his medical problems, Paul can tell you this, my dad always had a smile on his face. Always interested in what his kids were doing. And so to have that kind of awe, like a child, to ask questions. You know, I said we went on this road trip. And we would do things like, I wonder why what that is right there. And so we would say, whoever wasn't driving, let's Google it, find out. Oh, it's a cement factory in Durkee, Oregon. It's the only thing that's in Durkee, by the way. That's why we wondered what it was. But just looking at the history of the different towns we were passing through instead of just driving. You know, like, I wonder why that's there. Wow, I wonder what that means. And so to be inquisitive, remember when you were a kid? Or if you can't, remember as a parent, when your kids used to drive you crazy because they wanted to know, why is it that way? Well, why does that happen? Well, what does that mean? Give yourself the gift of being in awe of your life. Because you're creating it all the time. All the time. It's a co-creation. So be open to the awesomeness that, oh my goodness, it's a really hot day here, but I'm alive. I'm in an air-conditioned theater. I could go see a movie this afternoon if I wanted more air conditioning. We have options. But being in awe, when you look out, walk out, if you're in the theater, walk out afterwards and go down and just stand on the riverbank. And just take in the beauty and of being on the riverbank and the noise of the river floating by. If you're brave, jump in, because that's what a kid would do. So awe means to go back to remember when you were fearless. And when you loved life and loved spending time with your friends. It was the most important thing you could do. And so the other thing I'd like you to create into your life is determination. And what I mean by that is you're the person that's going to have to make this happen in your life. I can't do that for you. You're the person that's going to have to carve out time for your friends and your family. You're the person that's going to have to pick up the phone and call somebody and say, hey, you know what? I was just thinking about you. How are you doing? What's new in your life? You're the only person that can do that. And be determined about it. I don't know how many times I have let my spiritual practice slough off because I thought it was more important that I get all the busyness of Genesis done. And what happens when I focus on that is I'm not in my body and you don't get the best me. So what's more important? The fact that I've processed all of the payments into the bank, or the fact that I spend some time connecting to God every single day? I finally decided my spiritual practice was more important. I invite you to do the same. And it takes determination. It takes blocking out the time. Like when you block out the time, you know, does anybody, maybe every once in a while, but most of the time, we all get up and brush our teeth, don't we? Doesn't matter how busy we are, we're going to brush our teeth in the morning. That's how I want you to think about your spiritual practice. I want you to remember that you're part of the greater good. That when we talk about oneness, we are talking that we are all energy, every single one of us. In quantum physics, they've proved it. We are actually not separate at all. We just look separate. So then it makes us feel separate. But vibrationally, we're all connected. Think about that. All of the people in your life, the ones that you absolutely adore, the ones that you, not so much, you're connected to all of them. Vibrationally, we're all part of that magnificence that is God. And so to remember that, because that's important, because that's why you're here. You're part of the fabric of the whole. When you're not here, you will be missed because there will be a little piece, a little hole. And that's why we teach that you don't, this body that we're in goes away. You don't. You're still part of that whole. And the truth is you can't ever get away from that. To recognize that infinite means infinite. So you can try to be separate. You can try to separate yourself from. But you can't. Because oneness means you're part of. You are part of God. And it is all of you. And then the last thing is to remember how wise you are. That the intelligence, the wisdom already exists within you. I love that you come here. I love that I get to talk about something that lights me up. And yet I want you to know everything I'm saying already exists within you. Doesn't mean that I don't want you to come on Sunday. Well, she says she doesn't, that we don't need her, so we just won't come anymore. No, that's not what I'm saying. We need the community. We need to connect. And what I'm saying is, don't doubt yourself. How many of you get like an intuitive hit and then you're like, oh, moving on. Not sure what that was, don't believe it. I want you to pay attention to your intuition. That is the wisdom of the divine talking to you all the time. You just have to sometimes be quiet. So in case you didn't notice, I spelled shall. I do that, I think I've said this before, I do that for me so I can remember what I want to talk about. So it's spirituality, harmony, awe, determination, oneness, and wisdom. It's illuminating your shadows with the gifts you've already been given. Let's pray. Father, Mother, God, Spirit, right here and right now, over me, under me, around me, through me, as me. I am part of that magnificent whole, a living, breathing organism within the container of good that I know and call God. As it is for me, it is for all of you. Some may choose not to know that. That's okay. I know that that love, that power, that presence, that wisdom, all already exists. And so I know as we venture out this week to be in the company of some that don't think like us, that's okay. Remember who you are. I know that when your shadow shows up, I know mine probably will, to remember I have tools to look at that and to say, do I want to continue down this path? Do I want to continue to behave this way? Or do I want to experience and heal that within me that keeps me separate from the truth of who I am? And so I allow myself to feel my heartbeat, to feel my next breath, to know that I am not only one with all that magnificence, I am one with all of you. And that lights me up, and I hope it lights you up too. That you follow the path of your heart, and to remember that the energy that your heart puts out is 10 times more energy than your brain puts out. So to tap into that place that already knows the truth of who you are and is just waiting for you to wake up and reveal to yourself and to the world your magnificence. So I give great, great thanks for this Genesis community. I give great thanks for knowing who I am, why I'm here, what my shadow is, and how I choose to be with it. I give great thanks for all of you that know the same or are ready to open up to experience the same. I release all of these words, knowing that as it is spoken, it is done in the mind of God already. I believe it's done already because I believe that when we pray, we are speaking the words of wisdom from God already. Actually, even when we speak, if we're God-informed, every word we say. So really, these words are just returning home into that field of infinite possibilities, where that essence that gave me this wisdom says yes. So I let go, I let God, and together we say, and so it is. Namaste.